I think it's been well over a decade since I last read a Stephen King novel, so that tells me I need to update my Stephen King reading list. Hey everyone, welcome back to the next chapter. My name is Christopher Navo, and I'm going to be your host. If this is your first time joining, thank you for stopping by. I do appreciate it. Please leave a comment. Let me know what you think of the content. Today's video is going to cover, yes, one specific author, and that is Stephen King. I think he kind of deserves his own video. He's written so many books that I can't keep up with them, and yeah, that's what this video is about, is just updating a little bit of my reading list with Stephen King. It's been a very long time since I have read a Stephen King book. I used to read him a lot when I was younger. It was something I connect with my dad over because he also enjoyed reading Stephen King. So it was just a nice way to have that really cool time with my dad. I read a lot of his more popular titles. Of course, The Stand, The Shining, Carrie, Pet Sematary, Running Man, The Long Walk, Green Mile, Cujo, Eyes of the Dragon, Dolores Claiborne, Under the Dome, and The Regulators. I think that's the list of books I did read by Stephen King so far. So as you can tell, there's still a lot of titles I have yet to read, including some very popular ones. And that's what this list is about. So without any further ado, let's get started. So this list is in no particular order. There is one reread on this list, and that is only because there is kind of like a direct sequel. First book, or I should say books, is going to be The Talisman and Black House. The Talisman and the Black House. The Talisman, published in 1984 and co-written with fellow horror writer Peter Straub. The Talisman begins with Jack Sawyer, a 12-year-old boy who is on a mission to save his dying mother. Jack's journey takes him partly through our world, as well as crossing into a parallel world called the Territories, where magic is real and everyone has a twinner of themselves. Black House. Black House was published in 2001 as Jack Sawyer returns, this time grown up as a retired police detective trying to forget his trauma in his youth, until a series of child murders occur in a peaceful town of French Landing, Wisconsin, this time drawing Jack back into the world of the Territories against the entity known as the Fisherman. Next up, we have a more recent story by Stephen King, and that is Fairy Tale. Released in 2022, and a book with similarities to the premise of The Talisman, Fairy Tale is a dark fantasy novel that follows a 17-year-old boy named Charlie who inherits keys to a hidden realm and a loyal dog named Radar as he must travel to this world to save it from evil and help his new friend by seeking out a magical sundial. So as I mentioned in my welcome, I did read The Regulators. Well, that book has sort of like a twin to it, and that is called Desperation, and that is the next book on this list. Desperation and its twin book, The Regulators, was released in 1996. The story takes place in a town in Nevada by the same name. An evil entity known as Talk has taken over the town. A group of stranded individuals work together to try to survive Talk and the supernatural forces that have taken over the town and its people. For those who can't sleep, next up we have Insomnia. Published in 1994, the story follows Ralph Roberts, a widower who begins to experience insomnia after the death of his wife. As his sleep deprivation continues to worsen, Ralph experiences a heightened perception of reality, allowing him to see glimpses of the future, as well as a hidden world of supernatural forces and a cosmic battle between good and evil. So this next book, at first, I gotta admit, it didn't really sound appealing to me. It just didn't sound like something I would be really kind of interested in. And I do like a little more of the supernatural, and I do like a little more of the horror elements. But I decided I'm going to give this one a go because it's gotten so much praise, and it's considered one of King's best books, and that is 11/22/63. This book was published in 2011, a more of a sci-fi-esque novel. 11/22/63 follows Jack Epping, a high school English teacher that discovers a portal that allows him to travel back in time. Motivated by a friend's wish to change history, Jake embarks on a mission to prevent the assassination of President John F. Kennedy. Like most time travel scenarios, themes of fate, time, and the consequence of one's actions are prominent throughout this book. So this next book I've been wanting to read for quite a while now, so I had to make sure it was on the list. And that is Needful Things. Needful Things was released in 1991. This novel takes place in the fictional town of Castle Rock, Maine, where a mysterious shopkeeper by the name of Leland Gaunt opens a shop where he sells to his customers the object of their heart's desires. However, the exchange of merchandise has a steep cost, causing a destructive effect on the town and its citizens. So this next book might come as a shock to those who know I'm also kind of working on my first fantasy fiction novel. So you would think that this is something that I would have definitely read. I don't know why I haven't gotten to this. I did see the movie adaptation, and that is Misery. Published in 1987, Misery is about a successful novelist, Paul Sheldon. After a car accident leaves him injured, Paul is taken in by a woman named Annie Wilkes, a former nurse who claims to also be his #1 fan. However, she is not thrilled with the direction Paul has taken her favorite character, Misery Chastain, in his latest novel, and the unstable fan demands a new book to fix it and won't take no for an answer. Next up is one of his very early works, and that is Salem's Lot. Another book about an author. Salem's Lot was released in 1975. This novel follows Ben Merz, who returns home to the town of Jerusalem's Lot to write a book about the haunted Marston house. Yet he's not the only one to come to town. A vampire by the name of Barlow and his servant Richard Stracker has also arrived, and the residents of the sleepy town soon become Barlow's prey. So this next book I've been purposely putting off for a very long time. And the reason being is I have a horrible phobia of clowns. And spiders are pretty high on my list as well. And this covers both. I had a really bad childhood experience with a clown at a friend's birthday party when I was a kid. The clown was hired as part of this theme, and he was trying to make these balloon animals, and he gets really close to your face. And I remember him trying to make this balloon animal, and the balloon popped and it snapped me in the face. And he looked like he had this weird like fake concern, but there was like this smile. I swear to God, there was this smile on his face. And that's kind of just stuck with me my whole life. So after watching the Tim Curry TV adaptation, that just kind of cemented it for a very long time for me. Now, I did watch the recent movies, and I was able to handle those a little bit better. And I think it was because the way they perceived it was a little more monstrous and not kind of like that hidden like monster beneath like this happy makeup kind of thing. But I think I'm ready to hit it. And that's what this next entry is. Released in 1986, it is about a cosmic entity that has taken the shape of someone's worst fears, which it utilizes to feed upon its victims, primarily children, every 27 years. Its primary form is that of a clown named Pennywise. The story focuses on a group of 7 friends known as the Losers Club, who bond together to fight this entity both as children in the late 1950s and then return to their childhood town of Derry, Maine in the 1980s to have one more final confrontation with it. So at number 1, we have actually technically 8 books. There are a couple short stories that are involved in this, but I'm not going to include those. I'm just going to count the main series, and that is, of course, The Dark Tower. Starting with The Gunslinger as far back as 1982, then followed up with The Drawing of Three in 1987, The Wastelands in 1991, Wizard in Glass in 1997, Wolves of the Kala in 2003, Song of Susanna in 2005, The Dark Tower in 2004, which is chronologically the final book. Yet The Wind Through the Keyhole, the 8th book, released in 2012, falls between books 4, Wizard of Glass, and 5, Wolves of the Kala. This is King's sprawling epic series that blends elements of fantasy, science fiction, Western, and of course, his well-known horror elements. The Dark Tower also has numerous ties to many of King's other novels. The story, in broad stroke, follows the journey of Roland, the last gunslinger, as he quests towards the Dark Tower, a nexus point of all existence, in pursuit of a sorcerer called the Man in Black. So that is my updated list. Should definitely keep me busy for the next year or so. I do plan to read The Dark Tower starting sometime next year. But the good news is a majority of these books are standalone, so I can just fit them in as a kind of like a mood read or maybe an empty slot in my monthly TBR. Have you read any of these? I imagine most of you have. Let me know which one is your favorite from this list. Or is there a book on this list that I didn't even mention? Let me know in the comments. My name is Christopher Navo. Thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing. And I hope to see you in the next chapter. Take care. Hey everyone, welcome back to the next chapter. My name is Goofy. Today's video is going to cover one specific offer. Is Claiborne, the regulators, really? Regulators. The Running Man, The Long Walk, The Green Mile, Cujo, follows the journey of Roland, the last gunslinger. Hey, Georgie, want a balloon?